The wise Greek philosopher Theophrastus once wrote, "Time is the most valuable thing a person can spend. Every human being has a finite amount of time to spend however they wish." If you're looking for a textbook definition of schadenfreude, Gordon Ramsay's long-running, Kitchen Nightmares show might just be it. Some people jump off the faces of cliffs to fill their limited time with the rush of adrenaline, while others spend hours a day watching someone else play video games. The BAFTA and Emmy-award winning program, with versions in both the US and the UK, follows the hotheaded, Michelin-starred chef as he visits different failing restaurants and tries to help suss out what the problem is and turn it around. But there is a community of people on the internet that spend a vast amount of time participating in one of the most confounding hobbies, hunting shiny Pokémon. The amount of time people spend enjoying Pokémon content on a daily basis is incomprehensible, and a large portion of that time is made up of people either hunting shiny Pokémon or watching someone else hunt shinies. But with obnoxious, arrogant owners, hapless chefs, and undermining staff, the underlying issues often lead to explosive standoffs between the Scotsman and the people he's there to help. Between the fiery US, while this subculture of hunters has rapidly grown over the past few years, a lot of Pokémon fans are asking why people would spend so much time hunting shiny Pokémon. Version and the slightly more understated UK version of Kitchen Nightmares. There are 12 seasons and therefore over 100 episodes to choose from. But some are far more memorable than others, whether for the sheer incompetence they display, for Ramsay's wildly colorful insults, or, very occasionally, for a heartwarming moment or two. If you ask us, these 30 episodes of Kitchen Nightmares are the must-watch ones. 30. La Gondola, Season 3, Episode 4. The gondola has been open since 1968. Bringing a touch of glamour to Derby and UK, we've interviewed 3 notable Pokémon content creators regarding why they hunt for shiny Pokémon. Lewis, Lou 2, Matt, Absol blogs Pokémon, Brandel, and Dallas, the Supreme RK9's McDermott. What is a shiny Pokémon? Before we get into why people spend their time hunting for shinies, it's important to understand what a shiny Pokémon is. Today, however, it's riding on its reputation, and failing. The new owner has lots of love for the historic spot, which is admittedly a bit of a time warp, according to Gordon Ramsay, boasting plastic flowers and 70s chandeliers. Chef Ramsay is always a bit softer in the UK edition of Kitchen Nightmares, but there are some pretty funny moments in this episode. That includes when the head chef tries to hide powdered minestrone from the crew, and when he defends the dated menu, which he's been cooking since he arrived in the 70s. 29. Bazzini, Season 2, Episode 3, at Bazzini Café, Chef Paul Bazzini has transitioned from star chef to restaurant owner. And the process was a rocky one. His wife claims that the pressure is taking a toll on her husband, and this episode of Kitchen Nightmares definitely shows a chef at the end of his rope, snapping at waiters, staff, and even customers. His wife is bankrolling the business while Paul has temper tantrums on the line. Shinies by definition are Pokémon that look and behave the same as a normal Pokémon, but they are a different color. Shiny Pokémon do not have boosted stats, they can't learn special moves, and they aren't any more powerful than their normally colored counterparts. My resume and all my accolades don't mean a hill of beans if I can't make it work here, says Paul. Starving, Gordon Ramsay stops by the Minute restaurant for lunch, which. Regardless, these color variants are seen as rare and valuable creatures. Part of a shiny Pokémon's worth comes from the luck involved in finding them. In generations 2 through 5, the odds of finding a wild shiny are 1/8192. The restaurant does not serve. From generation 6 onward, the odds were increased to 1/4096. When Paul comes by to prep for dinner, Ramsay asks him to make a selection of his faves, but the chef finds the chicken dry and tough, the risotto stodgy, and the pasta cold and bland. The only thing he likes is the carrot cake, made by smiley pastry chef Sharon, who takes a liking to Ramsay and flirts with him throughout the episode. There are various methods, as well as the shiny charm, that helps increase the odds further, but it doesn't change the fact that finding a shiny is a roll of the dice on every encounter. But after the sous chef walks out during service, Sharon sheds her flirty, funny side to emerge a real team player, and it's super gratifying to watch. 28. Fiesta Sunrise, Season 2, Episode 9. It's perhaps no surprise that some of the most explosive, Kitchen Nightmares episodes focus on family-run restaurants, and Fiesta Sunrise is no exception. Here, Vic Flores is running a restaurant bankrolled by his wife Yolanda and stepdaughter Patty, and the mother-daughter duo aren't shy about expressing their bitterness over the situation from the first moments of the episode. With one failed restaurant already under his belt, Vic's management leaves much to be desired. Kitschy decor and too strong free margaritas do not distract Gordon Ramsay from the awful food. Even with odds as low as 1/300th, it can take trainers weeks, months, or even years to find their target shiny. With so much time spent searching for different colored digital creatures, one might assume that they hold inherent value. Do shiny Pokémon have real value? The value of a shiny Pokémon is fairly subjective and really boils down to how much a person values their time. In fact, the cocktails are the only things Ramsay likes. He quips that perhaps the only way to enjoy the food is by getting drunk. Watching Vic try to explain his choices to Gordon is amusing for all, though not in the least Yolanda and Patty. 27. The Runaway Girl, Season 6, Episode 1, in the heart of Sheffield in the UK. Tapas restaurant The Runaway Girl has caused a rift in the friendship between owner Justin and chef Richie, who has an even fouler mouth than Gordon Ramsay. If you search for shiny Pokémon on eBay, you'll find hundreds of listings. However, that doesn't mean a shiny Charizard has an inherent value of $1.95 US plus tax. Lou Tu is a Pokémon historian based out of the UK who creates in-depth video essays covering a wide range of topics for his 8.2K subscribers. If you're interested in the history of shiny Pokémon, I recommend you watch his video titled, "Why Are Shiny Pokémon So Weird?" Richie is obviously bitter after his childhood friend poached him from a previous job to help him run this spot, with ******y equipment, and no budget for anything fresh. At this point, Richie says, "I couldn't give a f*****k. I could just walk." The reason this episode of Kitchen Nightmares is one of our all-time faves? The catharsis in watching Richie's honesty with Ramsay over his frustrations, and watching him go off on his childhood friend with some highly colorful turns of phrase ain't bad either. 26. The Hot Potato Café, Season 3, Episode 1. Gordon Ramsay has a talent for zeroing in on the hypocrisy of some restaurant decisions, and watching him try to comprehend the bumbling that has led the family-run Hot Potato Café to serve him frozen potatoes is pretty hilarious. Lewis believes that shiny Pokémon do have an inherent value because some shinies are harder to obtain than others. "It's your choice whether you care about that or not," Lewis said. People can invest in the inherent value of a shiny as much as they want, but it doesn't really make a difference. We are particularly big fans of the Kitchen Nightmares scene where he demands to know where the inside of his baked potato is. Spoiler: it's in the mashed potatoes. Once Ramsay revamps the menu, it's really enjoyable to watch young chef Danielle, the owner's niece, rise to the occasion and really impress the Michelin-starred chef, despite telling cameras at the outset that she had no interest in cooking professionally at all. 25. The Fenwick Arms, Season 4, Episode 2. Despite its idyllic location in the heart of the Lancashire countryside, the Fenwick Arms unfortunately has pretty much no idea what makes a pub a pub. They do technically have an inherent value because there are different rarities, but I think the value that you hold for that unique experience is more important. He also stated that trainers value different shinies based on personal preference and the amount of time spent hunting. Matthew Brandel, aka AbsolBlogs Pokemon, is a YouTuber, 108K subs, and Twitch streamer who spends most of his time in Pokemon games hunting shinies. And the married co-owners haven't had more than 2 days off in 2 years, so it's not for lack of trying. Despite Chef Brian's 3 decades of experience, the tacky decor and overwrought table settings are all wrong. "It's got all the formality and awkwardness of a wake," Gordon Ramsay commented. And the food isn't any better, with offerings that are pompous and absurd beyond belief. After cutting Chef Brian down to size, this episode of Kitchen Nightmares is all about rendering the pub much more homey and traditional, with Ramsay teaching the pair how to get back to basics. 24. Brandel agrees with the sentiment that a shiny's value is based on one's personal experience. "It sounds weird to say when you're doing the same thing thousands upon thousands of times, but it really is more about the journey than it is the destination," he said. Jack's on Waterfront, Season 2, Episode 7. The Jack's Waterfront episode of Kitchen Nightmares has all the components that fans of the show so love: feuding, lying owners, a booze-guzzling manager, and some truly vivid descriptions of just how bad the food is.
When the food is bad at the restaurants he visits, Gordon Ramsay pulls no punches. He's got a few standby critiques, ghastly, greasy, and the ever-popular, bland, but when Ramsay gets creative, it's even more fun to watch. And at Jack's Waterfront, the food is awful. After lots of wordplay on the similarity between artificial crab and crab, Ramsay dubs the omelette rubber, and says the fish and chips is almost like you've got a breaded condom in your mouth. 23. However, he also believes that shiny Pokémon have never had an inherent value. That's something that a lot of people get hung up on. They worry whether shiny Pokémon are getting devalued. McDermott's thoughts are closer to Brandl's, but his opinions are accompanied by a brutal backstory. El Greco, Season 5, Episode 9, Front of House is very rarely the problem on Kitchen Nightmares, and we love watching Gordon Ramsay's rapport with servers doing their best in a work environment where they have to deal with a tyrannical chef or incompetent owner. Going by the Supreme RK9s on YouTube, 192K subs, and Twitch, Dallas McDermott has experienced devastatingly long hunts on more than one occasion. One of his latest hunts took 9 months to complete due to the abysmal luck he was dealt while hunting for all 3 Regis in Pokémon Platinum. The entire quest took 115,000 encounters, with Registeel alone being a whopping 71,000 of them. And even with that much time spent, McDermott stated, "I really don't believe shinies hold inherent value. While there might be one too many mentions of my darling, given the toxicity we now know runs rampant in many professional kitchens, it's always nice to see Ramsay's kind side emerge, especially when he's about to ream the back of house. And what's more, servers often repay him in kind by telling him what's really going on in the kitchen. Such is the case at El Greco, where server Dustin admits, we use Chef Mike a lot. AKA, the microwave. Whenever there's lights on in this restaurant, Chef Mike's working, Dustin says. A hacked shiny Registeel is indistinguishable from the one I spent months hunting down. The difference is my personal ties. The memories I make along the way and the work I put into my hunts is what gives the shiny its value. Why they shiny hunt if a shiny Pokémon doesn't hold an inherent value despite some taking months to find? Why hunt in the first place? The act of hunting is mundane in and of itself, and you can't sell the product once it's captured. So, why waste time chasing different colored pixels? Well, in talking with the 3 seasoned hunters, one commonality was discovered that might seem puzzling to outsiders. He's a dedicated employee. 22. Manja, Season 7, Episode 6. There are a lot of hotheads on Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon Ramsay included, but 22-year-old head chef Trevor at Manja is far worse, and far more toxic, than most. 10% of the time, he's an A***** hole, the owner tells Ramsay. Trevor ostensibly knows he's unfireable, and he has the arrogant attitude to prove it. He unapologetically rates his own food a 5/10. He walks out of the kitchen and smokes whenever he feels like it, and worst of all, he tried to punch one of the servers about a month before Ramsay's arrival. Hunting shiny Pokémon is rarely about focusing on the task at hand. Lewis and Brandl both stated that shiny hunting is something they do passively while doing something else. Watching Ramsay cut this cocky, arrogant cook down to size is extremely satisfying. 21. Flamengos, Season 2, Episode 2. Aside from its really odd name, Flamengos Roadhouse also boasts some really bizarre, Florida-inspired decor that one of the servers dubs hideous. Adele, one of the co-owners, is painted from the very beginning of the episode as being borderline abusive to her staff, and she and her husband refuse to let Chef Brian make any changes to the menu. It's kind of wild to watch Adele resist Gordon Ramsay's changes down to the very last moment of the episode. While the staff is thrilled to bid goodbye to the kitschy decor and menus, literally setting them on fire, the owners are less than thrilled. Adele's daughter, co-owner Cheryl, can't stop shrieking, "I want my alligator." But when Ramsay shows off the new name, the junction, and the new, simplified decor, Cheryl gives in and is pleased with the makeover. Whether that be hanging with friends, watching YouTube videos, or going on a long walk. McDermott and Brandl stream some of their hunts to their communities and encourage viewers to hunt along with them. Adele, however, is still resistant to the new menu, the new dishes, and even the new dining room. It may not be the act of hunting that gets them hooked, but it's the journey they take while hunting. McDermott has been hunting for nearly 11 years, starting with the Gen 4 titles. He hunts almost daily and can be found broadcasting his hunts on Twitch. "I don't like it," she says as she looks around the newly decorated dining room. That's a long time to pursue any hobby, let alone one as tedious and volatile as shiny hunting. He warns that the pastime might not be for everyone, and it can have negative effects on one's mental health if they focus too much on the shiny at the end of the tunnel. So many friends of mine over the years have fallen victim to burnout, and the slippery slope of a hobby, like shiny hunting, transforming into more of a chore, McDermott said. I hate blue. I don't think I have ever heard anyone say they hate the color blue, waitress Jody says. We agree. It's important to make sure you're hunting for the right reasons. I find myself asking in my head, do I actually want to hunt today? Am I truly enjoying myself? Do I need a break? We've talked about the experience that comes with shiny hunting, and you're probably wondering what that experience is. Well, I can't tell you that because everyone's shiny hunting experience is different. And seeing as Adele is wearing a blue sweater in the first scenes, we can't help but think this is just petulance. 20. McDermott has turned his hunts into an art form by putting together creative cosplays to fit his current hunt. I think it's very important to come into your own and find what way shiny hunting will be most rewarding for you, whether that be hunting full odds in costumes or simply using raised rates, method hunts, to create a shiny dream team you've always wanted to use, he said. Casa Roma, Season 3, Episode 7. Sometimes, Gordon Ramsay's reactions to food seem overwrought on kitchen nightmares, but when the food actually makes him physically ill, it's hard to argue with him. Lancaster, California's oldest restaurant, Casa Roma, is run by a mother and son team with no restaurant experience. Every hunt is fulfilling in its own way once hunters find what works for them. I've met some of the best friends I've made in my entire life through shiny hunting, and I don't ever see myself stopping. Matt Absol blogs Pokemon. Brandel others hunt for the thrill and unique experience of finding a shiny Pokemon, but do so without getting that dangerous tunnel vision. Finding a shiny has always been shocking and memorable, Brandel said. The business can occasionally make as little as $9 a night, and it's not hard to see why. Cleanliness is a major issue. I was really interested in shiny Pokemon from a young age, but I just thought I would never find them. But the moment that I actually found one, years later, the feeling that I felt in that moment was unlike anything else I had ever experienced. And this feeling is what the majority of shiny hunters are chasing. The euphoric moment when the shiny sparkles appear and a rush of adrenaline courses through their veins. The dining room is filthy, and Chef Eric's food isn't just slow to come out. It takes 60 minutes for Ramsay to be served. It's also dangerous. From vile mushrooms to raw pizza, it only gets worse when Ramsay digs into the walk-in and finds Parma ham, caked in mold, and 3-month-old ribs that led the chef to vomit in the trash can. 19. Café 36, Season 2, Episode 11. At Café 36, high school sweethearts Terry and Carol are trying to realize Terry's dream of running a French bistro. But when there are weeks or months with no shinies, something else has to fill that void. What's kept Brandel going over the years is to never strictly be shiny hunting. If you tune into his streams, you might be surprised to see that his shiny hunt is shoved in a corner and the majority of the screen is occupied by a sandwich tier list. Instead, they're running a frozen bistro. To be quite fair, Terry is trying really hard on kitchen nightmares, but he just can't delegate. Not everyone has a following they can stream to, but Brandel also hunts with his friends on Skype or Discord. His videos often feature him hunting while taking walks or during anime nights. I've met some of the best friends I've made in my entire life through shiny hunting, and I don't ever see myself stopping, he said. It's become an extra thing I can do at any time and I get to go on whatever journey the hunt gives me. Meeting the whole super supportive community behind shiny hunting and celebrating when people actually find shinies, it starts to make sense. Additionally, Chef Pinto is getting lazy and has some questionable sanitation standards. Every hunt is its own journey, and you have no idea where it's going to take you. Worst of all, pretty much everything is either frozen, like the crepes, old, like the risotto, which has been living in the reach-in cooler for over a week, or a baffling designation, fresh frozen, like the grouper and salmon.
It's kind of sad to see the owners have no real idea of what's going on until Gordon Ramsay opens their eyes. But witnessing sous chef Barney's vindication in what he's been saying all along is kind of awesome. 18. The excitement never gets old. Matt Absol blogs Pokemon. Brandel or, you could be a hunter like Lewis who enjoys hunting for the sake of finding a shiny you can't find anywhere else. Blackberries, Season 5, Episode 1. Blackberries is a soul food restaurant that's run with an iron fist by overbearing chef Shelley, who according to sous chef Mateen, is down the throat of her staff on kitchen nightmares. The owner and executive chef is too hands-on, incapable of delegating, and, according to Gordon Ramsay, in denial about everything that's wrong with her restaurant. Each of Lewis' hunts is driven by the unique experiences that come with them. Shiny hunting boils down to finding a different colored Pokémon, but the way in which it is obtained can make hunts far more enjoyable. Some shinies I try to find in the most tedious way possible, Lewis said. Some shinies I only try to get in the wild. One notable hunt of Lewis is the shiny Charizard he found in Pokémon Let's Go. This is the only game where you can find a Charizard in the wild, and so it's the only way to find that shiny in the wild. It's important to note that Lewis' following is much smaller than Brandl's or McDermott's, and he doesn't often stream his hunts. The only thing the chef likes? Shelley's mom Mary's desserts. Ramsay asks Shelley's staff to tell her honestly what's wrong, but her mood escalates and she goes so far as to try to send a staff member home for contradicting her. But he doesn't hunt for others to see or because he has to find a shiny. It's the unique experience of finding a Pokémon that makes the hunt worth it, Lewis said. People can tend to think your shinies are worthless if you get them in Pokémon Go, but the circumstances that I got it were special to me. I think the experience you have with a shiny Pokémon is probably more important than the destination. Why you should shiny hunt if you're one of the many Pokémon fans that are contemplating starting their first hunt but don't know if you'll like hunting. Here's a bit of encouragement from those who have been hunting for a large portion of their Pokémon careers. With a limited amount of time on our mortal clocks, some people feel that shiny hunting is an utter waste of time. And one of our hunters doesn't disagree. To those who think shiny hunting is a waste of time, I say, you're right, Lewis said. But shiny hunting is just one part of these games. You're correct in saying it's a waste of time, but it's how I choose to spend it. Unless it's your job, the end goal of hunting shiny Pokémon is self-gratification. Shiny hunting is a waste of time, but so are a lot of other hobbies people partake in every day. Some people, and this might be you, don't understand why people would want to spend days, weeks, or years hunting for a shiny, and you're not alone. Even Shelley's mom, Mary, says she's too stubborn and needs to learn to listen. While most kitchen nightmares episodes get wrapped up nicely, by the end of this one, Shelley's attitude hasn't improved, and she still claims to have planted a dead mouse Ramsay uncovered. 17. The Mixing Bowl, Season 1, Episode 3. The Mixing Bowl chef owner Billy is putting his all into keeping his restaurant open, and it seems he can't catch a break. Brandl has been hunting for years now, but before the hunting began, he was also a skeptic. I thought I would never see myself putting that much time in just to find a shiny Pokémon, Brandl stated. It wasn't until after he gave shiny hunting a genuine chance that he was able to understand why people dedicated so much time to it. Meeting the whole super supportive community behind shiny hunting and celebrating when people actually find shinies, it starts to make sense. Every hunt is its own journey, and you have no idea where it's going to take you. Server Kim says that, if it was up to Billy's wife, the restaurant would be closed next week. But Lisa isn't Billy's biggest obstacle. The excitement never gets old. In talking with Brandl, we decided that shiny Pokémon are like time capsules. That honor goes to manager Mike, who drinks, yells, and generally just manipulates everyone, including production, shedding his own crocodile tears in his seated interview. Gordon Ramsay is a bit of a bully to Mike from the outset, though maybe that's just because he susses him out from the very beginning. He's tough on him for his lack of knowledge about the menu, rightly, and for his weird, hovering behavior, item, but also for his wait, not cool, Gordon. Each one holds a different story that transports players back to when the shiny was found. Ramsay ultimately likes at least some of the food, which is always nice to see, and Chef Billy's love for his work shines. 16.
Brandl said it best. A hunt is really the summation of what's happening around you more so than what's happening in the game. Even still, McDermott understands that shiny hunting isn't going to be for everyone. Some people don't have the patience to go the distance of finding a shiny or are afraid of committing that much time to a hobby. Charlie's, Season 4, Episode 14, The Kitchen Nightmares. Episodes with clearly defined bad guys are some of the most fun to watch, and that's exactly what we get at Charlie's Italian Bistro. While at first owner Tatiana is painted as the ignorant villain, it soon becomes clear that she's just a bit spineless, and the real problem is Chef Casimiro. He just doesn't give a hoot. His bread is undercooked, his ravioli is raw on the inside, and he has no intention of changing, or listening to Gordon Ramsay. But his statement to those whose interests are piqued is reassuring. I think shiny hunting is a pastime everyone could enjoy if they tried it, but not everyone can stick with it long enough to find out. There is so much time and dedication that comes with it, that sometimes the fear of a hunt taking too long outweighs the desire for a shiny, and that's okay. Shiny hunting was always more of an, if you know, kind of deal, McDermott said. Those of us that hunt and have found shinies know why we do it, and maybe from the outside looking in it seems pointless, but when I realize you could say the same about most things in life, other people's opinions about how I choose to enjoy my time suddenly stops mattering so much. In short, how much a person enjoys shiny hunting is solely dependent on themselves. Luckily, sous chef Daniela is pretty capable, but without her, this restaurant would have sunk a long time ago. The episode begins with Tatiana hiding Ramsay's criticism from her chef, but eventually, she reaches her limit. If you want to dress as a garbage person while hunting Trubbish, go for it. The catharsis of watching her tearfully fire Casimiro is a bit bittersweet, but the episode does deliver a pretty happy ending. 15. Ride your bike or take a long walk while Masuda method hatching. Play Pokémon Go in the pouring down rain. Handlebar, Season 1, Episode 13. The handlebar was pretty rundown when owner and former construction worker Billy and his wife took it over a year before this Kitchen Nightmares episode was filmed, and things have gotten no better. There's no right or wrong way to hunt shiny Pokémon as long as you're enjoying the journey. Do you hunt for shiny Pokémon? Which one means the most to you? Let us know in the comments below. The owner is dejected, hands-off, and moody, and Chef Melissa admits within the first few minutes of the episode that she does not want to be a chef. The food is crap, she admits. I don't intend for it to be my career. Gordon Ramsay transforms the handlebar into a gastropub, a concept he first has to explain to the staff, and starts the bar's first annual motorcycle rally with special guest Dee Snider. However, Melissa's still kind of phoning it in by the end. She burns the salmon, then serves the replacement raw, but by the end it looks like she's delegating a bit, and that's not half bad. 14. Chappies, Season 6, Episode 15. From his super tall toque to his ghastly dining room, 2 fancy bow-tied waiters, and inflated prices, Chef Chappie is running a restaurant from a different era entirely. The food is watery, unappealing, and overpriced to boot, from the rubbery steak and lobster rocket to the gumbo that, to Gordon Ramsay, looks like Chappie took a crappie. The chef doesn't take kindly to the negativity on Kitchen Nightmares at all, but watching him overreact to Ramsay's totally on-point criticism is amusing, and what's more, Chappie's still not really on board with the changes by the end of the episode. You are one stubborn man, Ramsay says before leaving him and his wife to their own devices. 13. Sabatiello's, Season 2, Episode 8. Sabatiello's owner Sammy might seem like a charming stereotype of an NYC Italian-American man, but dig a little deeper and he's more conniving than you'd think. After running a successful pizza restaurant, Sammy stepped into the shoes of a higher-end restaurateur, but head waiter David says he's a nightmare. Hot-headed and manipulative, Sammy attempts to deceive Gordon Ramsay into thinking he does far more work than he does, stepping on David's toes from the outset on Kitchen Nightmares. He even tells Ramsay outright lies, that his lasagna is homemade, his signature item, before serving a reheated frozen lasagna. And while he calls himself a star and awesome, his interactions with customers are decorated with even more F-bombs than Ramsay drops. Watching Sammy bumble his way through the episode, with Ramsay calling out his lies again and again, is the purest schadenfreude. 12.
Sebastian's, Season 1, Episode 6. LA's Sebastian's is staffed by actors, including the eponymous chef owner, and it shows. But that's not what worries Gordon Ramsay on Kitchen Nightmares. He's focused, instead, on Sebastian's overwrought menu of mix and match, gourmet flavor combinations. Items that's so complicated that the servers can't even explain the concept on camera. Add a hot-headed temper and an owner who doesn't want to run a restaurant so much as hang out with his friends in one, and you've got a recipe for one of Ramsay's explosive talking TOS. Ditzy server Sonia offers some lighter moments in this episode, but it's above all amusing for Sebastian's bull-headed resistance to change. 11. Piccolo Teatro, Season 5, Episode 2. On this very special episode of Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon Ramsay journeys to Paris to help the owner of a vegetarian restaurant in the city center. At first, Rachel comes off as relatable and exhausted, and you almost feel sorry for her, for the ineptitude of her chef and how overwhelming her job really is. But over time, it becomes clear. Piccolo Teatro is being run by a spoiled child backed by daddy's money, and no amount of work from Ramsay is going to help. The ending of this episode is pretty devastating and will definitely send you to Google to see what became of lovely Chef India. 10. La Galleria 33, Season 6, Episodes 1 and 2. Sisters Rita and Lisa couldn't be more different. One's constantly drinking, the other constantly smoking on Kitchen Nightmares. One's aloof, the other stressed to pieces, and has a little crush on Gordon Ramsay. But they're endearing and adorable in their mission to sustain La Galleria 33 in the image of their parents' nearby restaurant in the Italian neighborhood of Boston's North End. That said, there are some serious problems at this restaurant. From conniving waitress Sarah to chef, and Rita's ex-husband, Doug, to truly bonkers busboy Pat, a former shoe salesman who tells Ramsay he's the manager. The staff here is pretty wild. Rita's story of how she rehired Pat after he spent an afternoon pacing in front of the restaurant forlornly in the rain is definitely worth a watch. 9. Black Pearl, Season 1, Episode 16. In NYC, two friends and co-owners of a neighborhood lobster shack tried to scale up to a full seafood restaurant in Midtown with a third partner. And things did not go according to plan. The Black Pearl started losing money, the owners stopped speaking to one another, and when Gordon Ramsay arrives, the situation has gone from bad to worse. One's a resentful, one's egotistical, one's lazy. Or as Ramsay dubs them, sleepy, dopey, and grumpy. The staff at the Black Pearl are the only ones who can get anything done. At the outset, the food is pretty horrid, though that's far from Chef Phil's fault as he's not allowed to change anything. Throw Ramsay into the mix, and this lobster pot is gonna boil over for sure. 8. Mama Rita's, Season 3, Episode 8. Mama Rita's got its start not as a restaurant, but as a successful catering business, and this identity crisis is at the heart of what's plaguing it on this episode of Kitchen Nightmares. Instead of making food to order, owner Laura has her staff bulk cooking and freezing everything, using the microwave as an agile sous chef for the sweet but rather incompetent Chef Perla, who is more of a cook than a chef. From the very beginning, Laura takes at least some responsibility for the issues plaguing her restaurant. It's heartbreaking to watch her trying so hard to succeed at implementing Gordon Ramsay's changes, only to witness just how little creativity Chef Perla displays. When challenged to create a new recipe for the menu, even Laura throws her hat into the ring, concocting a plate of blackened shrimp tacos. Perla can go no further than garlic breasts. Chicken breasts seasoned with garlic and salt and served with plain white rice and blanched veggies. 7. Café Hun, Season 4, Episode 15. Café Hun owner Denise Whiting is an overbearing control freak serving bad food in a garish, tacky dining room. And that's only the beginning. When Gordon Ramsay visits this Baltimore restaurant, Whiting has completely alienated the locals by appropriating, and trademarking, the common Baltimore slang term, Hun. "You can't own something that doesn't belong to you," columnist Dan Rodricks wrote for the Baltimore Sun. Hun isn't unique to Denise Whiting, no matter how special she wants us to believe she is. Thankfully, this episode gets a happy ending, with Whiting relinquishing her trademark at a press conference organized by Ramsay. 6. Burger Kitchen, Season 5, Episode 7. Burger Kitchen owner Alan Saffron is convinced that Yelp reviewers are out to get him. And that's just the beginning of the weird politics plaguing this restaurant on Kitchen Nightmares. Both Alan and his wife Jen are conniving and just plain odd, while their stressed-out son, Daniel, has become an unwitting investor in the restaurant after Dad stole his money and funneled it into the business. Chef David is certainly talented, and watching him and Gordon Ramsay team up to create a better menu whilst Alan and Jen huff and puff makes for some very enjoyable television indeed. 5. Prohibition Grill, Season 5, Episode 14. Prohibition Grill's owner Rishi has no idea how to run a restaurant. Sweet but a bit ditzy, she flirts hard with Gordon Ramsay while also showing a miraculous inability to understand even the most basic of restaurant norms. She doesn't know what soup of the day means. She's got no idea what's going on in her kitchen. You get the sense that the whole reason Rishi is running a restaurant in the first place is so that she can have an audience for her belly dancing. And to hear servers tell it, the audience is far more captive than captivated. Brown isn't manipulative or conniving like many other owners on the show. She's just a little ignorant. And it's very fun to watch Ramsay school her. 4. Mill Street Bistro, Season 5, Episode 11. Mill Street Bistro owner Joe is one of the most awful bosses we've seen on Kitchen Nightmares, with an unparalleled snobbishness and a temper to boot. To that end, watching Gordon Ramsay put this arrogant owner in his place, bit by bit, is wholly gratifying. Mad props to the editors of this episode, who managed to catch Joe contradicting himself at almost every turn. He claims to be a chef and then says he's not. He asserts his food is fresh as chefs pull things out of the freezer and microwave them. But our favorite moment? When Joe compares himself to the equally arrogant Ramsay, calling himself Ramsay's twin. Ramsay, seething, leans in and says, "Sato, I can cook, Joe." Goosebumps. 3. Mama Cherry's Soul Food Shack, Season 2, Episode 3. Aside from the occasional pastry or dessert, usually made by someone other than the head chef, Gordon Ramsay very rarely likes the food on Kitchen Nightmares, at least not at the outset. But Mama Cherry's in Brighton gave him a different experience entirely. He loves the soul food flavors at this restaurant, and the rapport between the chefs is delightful to watch. Ramsay's work here is twofold: modernizing Cherry's menu into a tapas-style offering and guiding her to become a bit less controlling in the kitchen. This gives Chef Brian room to shine and allows Cherry to delight customers as the ebullient front-of-house hostess. 2. Nino's Italian Restaurant, Season 5, Episode 10. There are owners who are arrogant and conniving, and then there's Nino. The son of the original owners of the restaurant that bears his name shows a delusion that's baffling, not just to Gordon Ramsay and the viewer, but also to staff and colleagues. His brother, in particular, goes on a long rant, undermining Nino's claims that he does all of the cleaning and setup in the front of house. He then chides Nino for his habit of sitting down with the customers, inserting himself into their space with a pompous, "Hello, my name's Nino." You won't be able to keep yourself from laughing at the absurdity. 1. Amy's Baking Company, Season 5, Episode 16. Owners Amy and Sammy Bouzaglo are perhaps the most famous characters on Kitchen Nightmares, and they never even finished shooting their episode, which still manages to be one of the most shocking and amusing in Kitchen Nightmares history. Amy's Baking Company is rife with problems when Gordon Ramsay arrives. From a controlling owner who siphons his servers' tips to a chef who cannot cope with pressure or criticism. But the reason that we keep coming back to this episode? Amy's very odd behavior. On paper, she could be portrayed as just a little quirky. She gives voices to her cats, she's proud of her husband's Playboy past in Vegas, and she believes that baking raw, doughy pizza is her God-given talent. But when Ramsay, or any customer, for that matter, criticizes her, she and Sammy waste no time in exploding in anger, evicting them from the restaurant. And that's exactly what happens to Ramsay in this dramatic episode.